All right. Before we get started, I want to say this because I've messed up now 3 times trying to do this video. I have, because I was trying to include my thoughts on AAA. I can't, because there's so much to concentrate on this show, and this is not going to be a 30-minute, maybe 40 or 50-minute video. It may be. I'm going to make a video right after this, or Sunday. It counts on how long this takes, because it's already 11. I'm going to see if I can do this video and then do a Gump report on AAA. So don't ask me what my thoughts are. Watch for the Gump report. If you ask me about, hey, what's your thoughts about AAA? And one of you already told me, because I'm not going to lie about it, I've had a nasal infection, which is, I was told it was a virus, but they also said it was like an infection. I got a nasal infection, which is a virus. There you go. I have no COVID. I've been checked by the doctors. I went and checked a couple of days ago. I'm fine, but it's been messing with me. So I had not looked at the sites. So, as you already know, thank you. The one who left the message down there saying, did you know about AAA? I did check, and I am doing a Gump report. Do not ask me what my thoughts on it. Look for the Gump report. Don't ask me my thoughts on it, because I say Gump report only. I'm not even going to give you a comment. I'm just going to say Gump report, because I'm going to try and make one right after this before I go and edit this monstrosity of a review of WrestleMania 41 Night 1. So that's my thoughts on that and what I'm going to do. But this, let's put our cards on the table. I know everyone is going to say this is one of the best that they've ever seen from TKO WWE. They're going to say WWE. I say TKO because that's what it really is. I'm not like everybody else. I see it for what it is. It's a satellite company. It's not a wrestling company anymore. It doesn't exist. WWE doesn't exist. That's a lie. It is TKO WWE, like TKO UFC. But I know people are going to say this was an incredible WrestleMania. And I will say, it was good. Hell yeah, it was good. Would I say it was the best? No. But it was damn good. I will say that, particularly several of the things that happened in here that made me personally happy, but also let me down. Definitely let me down. I will say this was a good to very good show. Not great, not the best, but a very good show. There's going to be different perceptions on this. I know JD and Alex, they're going to be going on. I think Alex comes on before JD because he is in Texas. So he'll air maybe slightly earlier than JD. JD will probably be on in a few minutes. Probably right now as I'm talking, both of them are on. And maybe Jesse will be with JD. And I'm sure both of them may say this is a great show. And I can't really complain about their feelings about it. But I am going to say this. It was predictable. It was mostly predictable for certain things. Mostly predictable. But there were certain parts that legitimately you will see from when you see this review, that it was obvious that there were some people that were not too happy about doing the jobs they were supposed to do. Or maybe just one. Let's go to the opening of the show. Let me give it to you like this. Gunther versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. What did I say? What did I tell you about 5 years ago when it came to Jey Uso? What did I say? Did you notice what I said? If anybody had been around for that long, you know I've been saying for quite a while, Jey Uso had something. I said Jey Uso because he had to be by himself, because Jimmy had an ACL tear in his knee and he was out for a bit and he had to work with Roman. The way he worked, I knew that Jey was going to be something. I still believe that the storyline of the Tribal Chief will eventually culminate with Jey meeting Roman Reigns for the Ulafala. I truly believe that they may go there eventually because of what has happened with Jey Uso. We already know. He beat Gunther. The story that has been built finally culminated and Jay not only beating Gunther, but choking him out. Now, what did I think about the psychology of the match? It actually wasn't that bad. You see Jay being very methodical about what he was doing. He was pissed as hell, but he kept himself in check. And I can tell you honestly, that was nice to see. Instead of him just jumping around at first, he was being very careful not to jump all over the place. Not until about halfway into the match. He made sure he stayed controlled because not only was he so pissed, he didn't want to make the same mistakes as he made before. And look what he did. He used a choke. Rear naked choke and choked out Gunther. That's how he beat him. And the match was very well done. In the end, once Jay won, Jimmy gets in the ring, holds his arm up, and then, like he did when he first came out from the fans, and it was a long walk. It was a long walk for him to get down there. It took a while. He headed back up with the fans. How do I feel about this? Guys, I feel exonerated. I'm not saying that anyone would say no, that Jay's never going to be anything. But for me personally, 5 years ago, when the pandemic happened, and I saw how they were doing something with Jay, mainly due to the fact they didn't have any idea what to do, let's be honest, the Roman Reigns storyline, when it first started, they really didn't have a major plan for Jay, except to be a soldier. That's it. But when you saw the type of things he was doing once the rest of the bloodline came in, even though they didn't really show that he could be something, he was something. And I feel like not many people really cared that much about Jay and didn't believe he would ever amount to anything. But I knew he would. And now he is a world champion. He could only be a world champion maybe once. You never know. They may never give it to him again. But I am very glad to see that I was right about Jay. I was right. He is now a world champion. It may not be the title, but it doesn't have to be. Always, like I tell everyone, I always say on this channel, it's not about how many titles you get. It's about how relevant you are while you got a title or when you don't. And Jay has become relevant enough that if he has a title, or if he doesn't, he's not going to be forgotten. And that means something, honestly. For me personally, it means a lot to know he's gone that far. Now, the next match, which really did not feel that good. New Day versus the War Raiders. Now, it's not about the match. Let's make this clear. It was actually a good match. Until you see Kofi holding on to, I think it was, I don't think it was Ibar. Was it Ibar? I think it was Ibar. He was holding his leg after, was it Kofi who tripped him up, or was it Xavier? I think once Xavier was on top of him and Ibar was on the floor, he grabbed his leg and held it until they won. And now they have the titles, which, fine. They're a heel tag team. They got the titles. All right. But here's the thing. For me personally, I didn't care. You know why? Where was Big E? Where was Big E? You see, for me, 4 months ago, when Big E was basically ostracized, they had a chance, a real chance, to bring two people up from NXT. One of the teams that is there. Maybe even the Street Profits you could have used, which I don't think they should have, but maybe one of the teams from, pretty much from NXT, bringing them up and let Big E be the manager of them. That's what I believe Dark State could have been. Two members of Dark State could have been brought up, and one or two of them, easily could have been rivals to the New Day and could have built them properly. But we didn't get that. Without Big E, any build they had for the last 4 months has felt very empty. Yes, they started turning heelish. Yes, the people started turning on them. Yes, and everyone is saying New Day sucks. Perfectly fine. It works fine. But as a story with the War Raiders, it didn't feel important. I'm sorry. Without Big E to be on the other side to try and convince them that they need to stop and it doesn't work and he's helping the other team, only then it would feel important. Of course, there's no way that Biggie could even take a bump. He can't. He's not cleared, but he doesn't need to. The other team could, and they'll just rub it in his face until he goes back to going to his desk. And that's what I think the story should have been, and this doesn't feel like anything. I'm sorry. If you liked it, more power to you. To me, the New Day, without facing Biggie, because Biggie still isn't cleared, they could have just went and got a team for him to manage and have a war with New Day that culminated in WrestleMania, where that team gets obliterated and they literally laugh at Biggie in his face, saying, this is what you get. This is what you get getting into our face. Go back to your damn desk, you bitch. Go back. And he goes back. And people at the desk, once in a while, remind him that he was sent back to his desk. Or better yet, New Day comes to the desk once in a while and rub it in his face. That would maintain their superiority as heels. That's the way I felt. Next match. The match that let me down. I'm sorry. Jade versus Naomi. Now, this wasn't about Naomi losing. I knew she was going to lose. There was no way Naomi was going to win. I knew she was going to win. Everybody's saying, oh, this is really good. Naomi is doing great. They notice how underutilized Naomi is. How underrated Naomi is. She's good in acting and in wrestling. She earned her chops, particularly when she went over to TNA. And the thing here is that ever since she came back, the only thing she's done is put everybody else over. There's been no real thing for her to be put over. Nothing. She's had chances to go against whoever's holding the title, either Bayley or anyone else. But legitimately, going against Chelsea Green, going against Bayley, going against Tiffany Stratton, then becoming tag champs, which didn't really mean anything. Because the story really was about Jade reaching a point where she can go off on her own and then eventually butt heads with Bianca. That's what this was all about. Not taking anything away from Jade Cargill actually getting injured and she had to get better and stuff. But that's what they really wanted. And Naomi has just been there for that. And for me personally, I don't like that. I'm sorry. After everything that girl went through, having to decide, fuck you, and the horseshoe came on, Vince, John Laurinaitis, and everybody else, I don't fucking care. I'm leaving. She deserved better. But, as I've said before, if you've seen the documentary with Triple H, when the Clique left, what happened to him? He was told by Vince, you know you're the only one left. And you know I'm going to have to punish you. And I'm going to make you eat shit. And you're going to like the taste of it until I decide that you are pretty much alright. And right now, what has Naomi been getting? She's been helping everyone else, but it's never been about her. And for me personally, this culminated in it. Yeah, she gets a WrestleMania moment. But it's the third match on the card. You're with a Jade Cargill who's still green. And I'm sorry, she's beautiful. She's built like Adonis. She's gorgeous physically. And she's strong. But she's still green. And you could see it from the match. The match, legitimately, Naomi had to hold back. You guys tell me below, what did you see when you saw that match with Naomi and Jade? You saw Naomi, who could move way faster than she was, had to slow down to make Jade look good. She legitimately had to cut her speed maybe near half to make herself look good. Legitimate. And in the end, and I'm not going to say that catching her out of the air, and this is about Jade, catching her out of the air, I don't think I got that shot, and holding her in a suplex, and then jackhammering her ass, I'm not saying it isn't impressive. Legitimately, Jade has good potential to be a great wrestler. But she still seems green. She still seems green. And in the end, yes, she won. But for me personally, this just feels like another smack in the face for Naomi. Not that you wouldn't help Jade. I know Trinity enough. Like everybody else knows her from any interviews, from what you know of the woman. She's a very humble person. She would do it for her. But come on. It is impossible. You cannot see that when this all, from the time she came back to culminate now, what has she done? She helped Tiffany. She's helped Bailey. She's helped Bianca. She's helped Jade. She's really done nothing for herself. She helped Chelsea. She's done nothing. It's been about everybody else but her. So for me, it sucks. I'm sorry. Next match. Number 4. The match that I was really looking forward to, which was good. Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight. Now, mind you, if you remember the reports a couple of years ago, when you know who was still there, and LA was getting frustrated because, yeah, he had a chance to be a champ, but he felt like he was being underutilized. He was getting frustrated and annoyed. And I can understand why. He was so over, not because Vince made him over, but because he did it himself. Because he has that look. Eli Drake, the former Eli Drake, was that damn good. From the time I saw him in Impact Wrestling to NWA, then going NXT, and then the main roster, I knew before anybody else how Eli Drake was going to win people over. I've seen it for over a decade with the man. I knew. But hearing he was frustrated was a big question. And now that he has been, let me give it to you like this. This match, he was meant to lose. The question now is, what is next for LA Knight? Because after losing a title, yes, he can try and win it back. But after he loses, which he must lose, there's no point in him trying to regain that title from Jacob Fatu. This is what they decided to do with Jacob. Jacob has been strong enough that his character has gotten him over the way he is. And now they gave him the U.S. title, which is understandable, which it needed to be. The question now is, like I said, what are they going to do with LA Knight after he loses? Because they're going to let him have another shot at it, probably this Friday or the week after that. Maybe one of the two. But truly, I'm hoping they'll do something with him in the main title picture. He needs to be treated better. And they need more faces in the main title picture. He's got to be there. He's got some relevancy, yes. But at this point, they don't have many people at the main title. They need it. And yes, I know it's about Cody. We don't know what's going to happen with Cody. We don't know what's going to happen after with John Cena. I'm not going to predict. But they're going to have to do something. They need more bodies for Cody or the possibly staying to the end of the year John Cena if he wins the title. Moving on. Now, here's where it gets interesting. We get Rey Fenix versus... The sad thing about this, I looked at SmackDown. I didn't review it. And I saw Rey get pulled out of the ring by, who was it? It was not Brutus. I think it was Julius Creed who pulled him out. And something happened when he landed on his side of his left side. He couldn't walk. He started limping pretty heavily and he literally was out of the match. So I felt, oh no, he's hurt. And I was correct because he couldn't come into WrestleMania. He was out. The La Grande Americano versus a Rey Fenix. Now, I knew that Rey could do a great match. I've seen Rey. I've seen him in Impact Wrestling and AEW, of course. And I know he can do a good match. But this is the first time Chad is going up against someone who is extremely fast-paced as Rey Fenix. Now, I didn't think he couldn't handle it, but I wasn't sure if it was going to blend well. And it did. It was a good match. Now, were there a few botches? Yeah, a little bit. Not too much. It wasn't too bad. But honestly, Seeing that Americano again uses a steel plate, which is just some plastic, and basically Ray kicks him in the head and he hurts his foot, and then he gets headbutted not only once out of the air, going whack, but a flying headbutt. There you go. They decided they want to keep this Americano storyline going because it seems to be pissing off all the Lucha Libre members of LWO. And I doubt it's going to end with them, because I'm sure you're going to have Ray against Americano, maybe Andrade against Americano. You don't know how many people you're going to see Americano go up against, because you got a lot. You can have him go up against Angel Garza, Alberto. You can go up against Santos Escobar. You can go up against Andrade. You can go up against the last members of the LWO. Anybody who could be a lucha, they'll put him up against. I think that's what's going to go through. He's going to go through the entire lucha roster. Do I believe that's the wisest thing to do? Why not? It's something different. You don't normally see a guy who's not lucha trying to act like lucha and beats all lucha wrestlers one way or another. That's just me. You guys tell me below. Okay. Oh boy. Here's the match that sucked. Yeah. The ending is right. Let's make this very clear. Very clear. The ending was the right decision. Charlotte versus Tiffany. Charlotte loses to Tiffany. She had to lose, and they did the right thing. But you guys tell me below, when you looked at the match objectively, taking away if you love Charlotte or taking away if you love Tiffany, that match was not that good at the beginning and parts in the middle. It got better at the end, but there were parts there that looked legitimately like someone had an attitude against somebody else and started acting against what they were supposed to do. Tell me if I'm wrong. Watching the beginnings and parts in the middle, where you can see it wasn't just that they were being rough with each other. Someone legitimately was not happy about the situation. And I don't think it was Tiffany. Let's make this clear. Do I hate Ashley? No. She's probably a good woman in real life. If I got to know her, probably a great woman. But we're not talking about Ashley, the ordinary person who's Ric Flair's daughter. We're talking about Charlotte, Ric Flair's daughter. The one who they were willing to give 15 reigns to because it's Ric's daughter. Not because she's one of the best wrestlers, because she is not. Because if you watch that match, honestly watch that match, next to her not really being happy what she was doing, Tiffany outperformed her, not because she's a better gymnast, but because she was more crisp in her work. And you can't say because of that knee. Nah. I know. I've seen enough that was not a knee thing. There was literally someone outperformed the other one. Tiffany legitimately was a better wrestler than Charlotte. But I'm not taking anything away from Charlotte. She's always been known to be a good wrestler to get herself over. But like I said, she can't get anyone else over. She cannot. Every other person she's ever wrestled that wasn't Becky, Bayley, Asuka, or Sasha, because she's mainly dealt with these four women the majority of the time. I know you're going to say, what about when it came to Rhea Ripley? No. Nope. Rhea, she didn't do that well with Rhea. Naomi, like I told you many years ago, they had a bad match, and after that, you never saw Naomi with her until the 2020s before she hurt her knee. Because for 4 years, they kept them separate. 4 years. No, more, 5 years almost. 5. Until they actually had a couple of matches after that. And honestly, I'm telling you right now, there are women that she's gone up against that she should have put over. She did not. Not because she's a bitch, which, in a sense, what happened with Nia Jackson, what happened with Becky, and now also what happened with Tiffany, the attitude that she had with her there too. Remember, that segment they had in the ring, that was a shoot. Remember, that was a shoot. That wasn't bullshit. That was an actual shoot. The way that Charlotte acted. That's three women that she had attitude with that bled into the damn ring. Where one had an actual fight with her in the damn ring. The other one had a nasty attitude which messed up the segment. And then you hearing her clearly say, oh, why is your man going into my DM? It shouldn't have been done. That's not right. So, something was going on. Tiffany was doing her job. Now, do I believe Tiffany did a great job? She did good, but she was sloppy a little bit. And that's mostly due to the fact that, like I said, someone was not in a good mood. That didn't want to do the full job. She did what she's supposed to do. That's Charlotte. She put her over as putting over, in other words, just did the match. But honestly, she kind of half-assed that match. I'm telling you the truth. By the end of the match, she picked it up. But the beginning and the middle, she half-assed that match. And on top of it, by the time she started doing the work, it was due to the fact that Tiffany was literally outperforming her and she had to crank it up a bit. And then she looked better. But before then, she looked like crap. That's me. Now, I don't know about anybody else. They're going to say, oh, Charlotte did great. For me personally, I looked at this objectively. I am not that I'm a Charlotte fan or Tiffany fan. I am looking at this objectively, and objectively, Charlotte did not put a full effort until the end of that match. And even when she did, if she believes her own hype saying that she's the best wrestler, no. Tiffany was better. Let's move on. Now, Hall of Fame. I did not do a video for the Hall of Fame. I watched it. Yes, I did. What did I think about all the people in there? Well, I got to say that Michelle McCool sounded boring. That, and not to me, but guess what? They zoomed in on Logan Paul, and he went... They caught that shit on camera of him being bored. That. They caught him being bored when Michelle McCool was talking. Yeah. Now, the natural disasters, I'm glad they went in. Seeing that Brent and Steve, that match they had, I've seen that match. I love that match. It's a damn good match. Seeing Steve pass out. It is one of the best matches they've ever shown on television. Before the Attitude Era, before they went to Ruthless Aggression, where there were some matches that were good, like the one that would not be named with Kurt Angle. But let's make this very clear. Seeing that they got that memory, or does make me feel good. So I'm alright with that. Seeing Luger. Seeing he was able to get out of his wheelchair was good. Seeing he explained his life and how screwed up he was, and that he, excuse me, that he, thing's still on? Yeah, it's still on. I'm sorry, I had to check because there have been times the battery just died. But seeing that Lex Luger found God, which is fine, I'm happy for him. As someone who follows Native American faith, who follows the Great Spirit, hearing that someone finally found something they were missing in their life and is now feeling whole, that's a wonderful thing to see. It doesn't make a difference what belief you follow. It's that if you notice something missing and you found it, that you should praise them for finding something they've been missing and that they finally accepted because they chose it. So seeing that was good. Triple H. Oh, yeah. Let's make this very clear. Was Shawn funny? Yeah. I didn't want to get cut off in mid-sentence. Was Shawn funny? Yes. Then we got Triple H coming out. Getting choked up. Let's make this very clear. for majority of that, of his speech, he didn't know what he wanted to say. He just said whatever he felt. And he was being humble. Paul Levesque, you can say a lot, particularly what happened with China, because of some of the reports of what happened with her. He's generally a good guy. People say that he's a really nice, wonderful man that's giving. He talked about all the people, including a few people that he asked to be at the induction ceremony, that he called out and told what life he had with them. And I found that to be a wonderful thing. Now, Vince. He said it best. I've been dancing around this, but there's someone I have to bring up, and that is Vince. Let's make it very clear. 100% crystal clear, he had to bring up Vince. If you believe what he did was wrong about bringing up Vince, there was no way he could not. Look, that was his boss, and he gave him so much to the point where he took over for him. He had to mention him in that respect. He's married to the guy's daughter. His wife, well, his former wife, I believe. Are they still married? I think they're still married. I'm not sure if Vince is still married. I think they are still married. But his mother-in-law was in the seats. His own parents was in the seats. He had to mention Vince. His daughters were in there. Steph was there. He had no choice but to mention Vince. If you guys could not stand it, that's on you. For me, this is, as I've told people about, I got to mention his name, Chris Benoit. The very first videos I spoke about wrestling on this channel, because I spoke about other stuff. I spoke about Zane's view on YouTube, Zane's view on the 5 best jets in history, and Zane's view on Chris Benoit. I can separate what the guy did, which was horrid, and if I still believe in Christianity, he burned in hell right now. But I can always understand the wrestler, and one of the greatest wrestlers that has ever been in the industry, how great Chris Benoit was. He's one of the greatest that has ever been known. Sadly, he will never be acknowledged because of what he did here. But I can acknowledge, and if I ever watch any matches, I can separate what this guy did compared to the guy that's on the screen. I can do that. Now when it comes to Vince, you got this Vince, who's currently still in the courts, and then you got the one that was on TV. And I can evaluate what Vince did. And he made Triple H what he is today by promoting him and letting him get trained and not stopping him from letting him be with his daughter. Flat out. That's the way it is. He had to mention him, which he did. And that was fine. So seeing everyone up there, I was alright with it. Now, final match. Let's get to the business. Battery died. Battery was about to die. Had to switch it. Okay, final match. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this. Seth, Roman, Punk. Triple threat. Heyman in the corner of Punk. We were wondering who... This was not about Roman. This was not about Seth. This wasn't about even CM Punk. People were wondering, what was Paul going to do? Would he eventually go to the other side at one point or another? Because Paulie is Paulie. Let's make this very clear. Paul Heyman is still Paul frickin' Heyman. And the match was fine. I liked the match. It wasn't bad. It was actually structured very well. It really dragged the people in, particularly nearing the 2/3 of the match. It was good, particularly when Roman drove... Well, let's make it very clear. When Roman was approached by Seth, nearing the end of the match. And he said, we need to stop. We got to take care of him now. Let's just take care of him. You got to understand, this is about him. And you think Roman's going to help, and then he knocks out Seth and power bombs both Seth and CM Punk. That was cool. But when we finally come to the final part, where Seth's in the ring at the end, face pointed towards the Titantron, you see Roman and you see Punk. And Paulie's got a chair in his hand. And both of them are saying, come on, give it. But he says, I'm sorry. Throws it over to Punk. He jumps into the ring. And he's right behind Punk. And I'm saying, okay, he's gonna nail him? Is he gonna nail him? Because that was the moment he jumped into the ring, I knew he was gonna nail Punk in the gonads. He was gonna, I knew he was gonna do it. I knew he was going to do it. I knew it. There was no way they weren't going to do a swerve. Because everyone was questioning what is Paul Heyman going to do? Was Paul going to choose Roman? Or was he going to choose Punk? No. Because after he nails Punk in the nuts, and Roman wails on him for a minute, he says, my tribal chief, look at him. Look at him. Look at the position he's in. The exact same thing years ago. And then I realized, the moment he did that, I said, okay, we're getting a double swerve. This is Paul chose Paul. This is not about Paul choosing Seth or Paul choosing Roman or Punk. Paul chose to choose himself because he got sick and tired of being used, and he's going to do what he thinks is right for himself. Because that's what he did originally 5 years ago when he decided when Brock left, because of what was going on with the allegations, he went to Roman. He did what he did for himself. So, what did we get? We get a gonad shot where his hand gets caught up in the chair, and then he picks up the chair, gives it to Seth. Seth does exactly the same thing as he did when the Shield imploded. Whack to the back, stomp, wins. That's it. And both of them walk away. We got a double swerve. Now, here's the thing. For me personally, what do I think happens now? I don't think that this is just going to be Seth and it's going to be about Paul only. I believe that we're going to have a few more people work with Seth. I do believe he's going to be the leader, but I do... This is what I believe. They're going to build another bloodline, but it's not going to be blood. It's going to be Seth as the leader and possibly two subordinates and the wise man. This is what I believe is going to happen. Because of what happened with the bloodline being so damn effective, my feeling is this. They're going to bring in some people that Seth is going to lead. And you're going to have Paul Heyman in the same position. The only difference is you're going to have this faction here that's going to be like a new bloodline. Just no relatives. And then you're going to have Roman and eventually Punk, because they're going to work separately, eventually come together to tag up to go against them. That's what I believe is going to happen. Do I believe that's the wisest thing to do? At this point, they're red hot. So it would be the wisest thing to do. But let's make this very clear. Because it's not what's going to be talked about. Because no one talks about this. They had no one built during the time of the Bloodline and Judgment Day. This is what this is coming down to. They didn't have another faction built up that could take over for the Bloodline when it was ending. They didn't even have a faction that was going to be able to take over for Judgment Day when it imploded, which right now it doesn't even have its strength anymore. It's just a shell of itself. That's what the situation is. They want to build a faction to do the same thing as before. They're going to repeat it because they think if they build the right faction, they'll be able to do the same thing over again and not really build that many people that they have to worry about that's not going to get over. Because let's make this very clear. They got a huge amount of people in the back. Not talking about those in NXT. But they don't bring them out much. They don't do anything with them much unless they need extra bodies for something. So now, with this situation, they're going to build a new faction. I do believe the Wise Man is going to be a part of it. I do believe Steph's going to be leading it. And Roman and Punk are going to be fighting against it. They're going to make another equivalent bloodline because they need something for Raw. Because they don't got anything. They're just going to use the same formula, just with different people. And to be honest, that's half-assing it for me personally, because there's nothing wrong with a faction. They can still build it, but if they don't build other people around it, like bringing up LA Knight, doing something with Andrade, hell, with what's going to happen with AAA, Van Kingo is going to show up on NXT. They need to bring up more people to fill in for the main event, the mid-card, near the main event, the undercard. They need to fill them up and do stories with them, not just matches. But it's just me. Peace.